Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Friday. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Friday, guys. This should be a quick word, but we shall see. I want to talk to you guys about surrender. Surrender. Again, these are words and sometimes they're phrases that we hear like just let go and let God, right? We say those things so much, or we heard them so much that again it becomes just a cliche after a while. But in this season, God is truly aligning some of you, some of us, with those words and phrases. And one thing that I'm learning what God is really doing in this season, definitely in my life, is teaching you to surrender. We're so quick to say, I give it to God, I give it to God. But what do? 5 minutes later, we're right back trying to make it happen. And we don't even realize that some of the stuff is coming from past traumas, especially just in our community alone. There was so much trauma and things like that. So what happens? We're always in fight or flight. We're always in having to do things ourselves because it's just conditioning. Well, in this season, God is teaching you to release things, and that's going to require transformation for you thinking that you can do everything, you can fix everything, you can save everything, you can beat the doors down, you can just be involved in everybody's lives and make things happen and this, that, and third. And you may have had success in that in some past years, but to what cost? How stressed out were you, right? And so what God is doing in this season, He is really helping those who are tapped in and open to what He's doing. He's giving you a grace to remove your hands off of things that was very difficult for you to remove your hands off. And what He's doing is He's showing and proving, if you give Him this space, when you let that thing go, and I mean really let it go, you will realize how God moves. You will realize that God is true. It's very, trying to think of a word, like how something just flows. It flows and it unfolds naturally. There's no resistance, there's no bumps, there's no this. That happens when we get in the way. So one thing that I've been convicted to do, and I've been doing for the last year, is having a morning routine. That morning routine consists of getting up, reading the word, getting up, sharing the Jesus Calling page to you guys after I read it. Then of course, checking my calendar and moving accordingly. However, the difference now more than anything is, even though I have my strenuous to-do list for the day, I'm fluid enough to know that I can go on with my day as scheduled. But if God interrupt, and this happens a lot, if God interrupts it and something else comes up, or He needs me to move it, He needs me to move, sorry guys, a different kind of way or direction, then my to-do list is on hold, period. Where before, it would almost freak me out. I would be in panic mode if something else arise and that I couldn't get the to-do list completed. So what we're not realizing is that our to-do list, the things that we're jotting down every morning or every day or whatever, and we're like frantically freaking ourselves out because we feel like we have to get these things done. And granted, of course, there's going to be some things that you have to get done, but you still have to be fluid enough to understand that if God interrupts something, you will be more safe getting into His flow of things, because the things that you miss or you didn't complete, trust me, there's a grace to cover those things. Your mind may tell you, well, oh my goodness, if I don't get to the light company by 5 o'clock, they're going to shut my lights off. But then something happens in 5 o'clock, He pulls you in a whole different direction, and you're freaking out like, oh my God, my lights, my lights, my lights. Well, God mess around and let an engine blow in that electric company truck trying to get to you to turn your lights off, because He needs you wherever He's pulling you at. He needs you, and the other things have grace. And that's just an example, right? That's just an example of how he will cover the thing that you're panicking about if he's pulling you. And I discovered that there are some days where I get everything completed and then there's no interruptions. But then the days where I'm interrupted, yesterday was one of those days, and I just released the other things. It's such a grace of peace, such a grace of calmness. So I really believe that God is really teaching us now to trust him more and more, regardless of, again, we say those things, and where he's taking us and he's shifting us, it's going to be a complete release. You will have control of absolutely nothing, with the exception of, you get the point, but you can't control where we're going. Where, again, our own determination, our own drive, we were used to making things happen, but all stressed out. No. Where we're going is a complete release and surrender in full alignment. So all that stress and worry that we were conditioned, just being in survivor mode and fight or flight, and just, oh my goodness, all that panic and that anxiety, which many times is also, what is it called when something is passed on through, not generic, oh my goodness, Kizzy. I'm sorry, guys, my coffee haven't really kicked all the way in yet. But all that stuff is a lot of times passed on through traumas, just through traumas in general. But I want to share that with you guys because some of you guys are really trying to hold on tightly to things that God is trying to release from you to give you better. Some of you are holding on tightly to things that God is telling you to release it. It's yours, but he needs you to release it so he can come in and do what he needs to do. God is calling many of you to release the grip you have on your own narrative about the promise. Release it so he can give you the correct narrative. Or even if yours is correct, it can't be so correct where you just think you know it all. So he has to maybe come in there and really teach you to release it, give it to him, and you get into the flow of things versus trying to control the thing. God is calling some of you to release and surrender to people that you have grips on, who is torturing you, who's hurting you, but your trauma is making you hold on because you're too fearful to be alone. You're too fearful of the rejection. You're too fearful of the unknown, not knowing, well, if I release them or release this, who else is coming? That can't be the mindset. The mindset has to be, if I release it, then I'm going to cling on to God, which really I should be doing anyway, but it is what it is. When I release it, I'm going to cling on to God. Then clinging on to God will then invite the people who are God ordained in my life. The people you're clinging on now to is probably not even God ordained, or just could have been for a season. Just could have been for a season. But you got to cling on to God so God can heal you, make you whole, if that's where you are currently. And then God will start sending people into your life where that same flow that I was speaking about earlier, the just natural flow, and there's no resistance. It's just like a water stream. It's just flowing. That's how the people will feel as well. We are really stuck in survivor mode and don't even realize it. All that grasping and holding and trying to make it work and frantic if this don't work and frantic. That is truly survivor mode. And that's obviously nobody's fault. If you came from trauma, which many, probably most of our people did, just not even in your generation, just passed on. But you're called to break the cycle. You're chosen. So this is going to literally have to be a faith move. There are some of you, my spirit is pinging right now. There are some of you who God have been clear. It's not even you're waiting for another confirmation that will be your 234th confirmation. It's not even that. You absolutely No, God is calling you from that town. God is calling you from that job. God is calling you from that dead end relationship. God is calling you. Don't even like the person. You don't even like them. You don't even like them. But God, you know God is calling you from something. That's not the question. The question is the fear of the unknown, the fear of the what if, the fear. All the fear is coming back from your past, from your traumas, from your childhood, from the rejection, from the abandonment, from the bullying, from all that stuff, right? So it literally have to be a faith move. You can't even think about the what if. You can't even think about, okay, if I let this go, then what's next? Literally, you can't even think about that. Seriously, you can't even think about it. It has to be, I surrender, I let go, let me press in spiritually. Don't even worry about tomorrow. Just worry about pressing into God. Your word, nature, recordings, videos, or however you press in, right? Just press into God. Don't be thinking about the next man. Well, I let this trifling one go. The next one might be more trifling. No, not, no. Don't work like that, because once you press in, honey, you ain't got time, right? So don't even think about, if I leave this job, will the next one pay me more money? That can't be the mindset. It has to be release, surrender, press into God. After you press into God, which may be a process alone, and don't get it twisted, God will take care of you within that process, even if you don't have a job. But once you press in, then the things will naturally find you. I think with us as human beings, we just have to see. We have to physically see and understand the next step. Don't work like that. I'm thinking of something now when, more than one time, trust me, more than one time, when God told me to just jump. Just jump. And because he know I'll do it. That's really not my thing. The fear of that. But I do remember a time when he called for me to jump, and it meant I had to leave my grip of some people, or a couple of people that I just wasn't ready yet. And so my mind, and when I look back at it, it had nothing to do with. And so this is the whole thing. It had nothing to do with what God was asking me to do, because I'm fearless when it comes to that. But we be stuck because we're thinking about, if I leave, how will this person make it? If I leave, is it going to be something better? If I leave, are they going to think I'm abandoning them? If I leave, that's our stuff. That's our stuff. And half of the people and the things that you're having these reservations about, these people wouldn't give you a second thought if the tables were turned. So really, is it about the people, or is it really about your trauma, wounds, and triggers? Because let me tell you something, half of the time you be handicapping people anyway. Let me tell you something, the minute you decide to move on from whoever or whatever, people will make a way. They will find other people. They would have to get their own big girl panties on, their own big boy underwear on. People will find a way. You're not God. So anytime when God is pulling you out the way, it really sometimes it's about the other people. He's trying to work on them. And here you are, well, I can't relocate because nobody else will be there to give Big Mama her medicine on Sunday. And you got 18 people living in the house. 18 people live in the household, but you're the only one who can get Big Mama her medicine on Sundays, honey, because they all just know you will do it. They know you will do it. And in fact, they'll see you working 3 and 4 jobs and going to catch the bus to get Big Mama medicine. And not one of them will stand up and say, you know what? I see you. You're the only one, such and such. Let me do it this week. No, they're going to let you do it because that's what you do. That's what you do. And then one may even stand up and say, let me help. And you will say, well, no, I got it. All that is trauma wounds and trauma triggers. We think we be saving people, button ourselves in other people's lives. Some people button themselves in other people's relationship because you think you're saving or fixing. All you're doing is ignoring your own stuff. Because when your hand is released and you surrender, guess what? You got to sit into your own trauma. But when you're busy, and doing this for that person, and you're going to the church 30, well, let me leave that alone, sorry. Please, if you're going to church 30 times a week, go to church 30 times a week. Let me pull from that. But you're going to everybody else's house, you're cooking dinner for this person, you're taking 5 people on the street dinner, you're doing this, you have committed yourself to every single thing because of that people pleaser seed, and you do it in Jesus' name. But you're broke down, tired, and when God really needs to use you, he can't even use you for what he needs to use you for because you're so busy doing things that you want to do because of the people pleaser seed in Jesus' name. Make sense? No judgment. I was once that person. Let me just tell you, right? But in the season, God is calling many people to release their heads because where he is sending you, you have to flow naturally. These are massive blessings. These are kingdom blessings. Kingdom blessings are massive. Kingdom blessings has to be a flow. It has to be a line. All that resistance can't go. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.